Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you the wrong way to pipe. Yes, you heard me correctly. I'm going to show you the incorrect way of using certain piping tips. Now this request actually came from one of you, and at first I thought, why would I show you how not to use piping tips? But I actually think it's a really helpful thing to see in case you're using certain piping tips wrong at home and you don't know how to correct yourself. So what I'm going to show you is the wrong way to use certain tips, and then I'll show you the right way so you can compare at home if needed. Now, piping is all about pressure. You have to get the pressure right while squeezing the buttercream through a piping tip. The first step is how not to hold your piping bag. How not to hold it is squeezing the buttercream in the middle and letting the buttercream come out both ends. Big no-no. Now I do have some buttercream at the end here, but what I want to do is actually twist the end of the piping bag so it's closed, so buttercream doesn't come out the other end, and so there's only one way for it to come out, which is at the open end where the tip is. Now piping is all about using the right amount of pressure when pushing that buttercream through. So we're going to start off with this 1M tip, which is a nice open star tip. Usually we use it for nice big swirls on top of cupcakes or little rosettes like this. So a rosette is a very tight swirl, finishing off with a nice flick. Now, this is a great example of not applying the pressure correctly. If you're not pushing correctly, this happens. It's very skinny and may not even follow the whole shape, because you need that pressure to get that full effect. Now, of course, if you're not doing the shape correctly in the first place, then you're going to end up with something like this. So little pressure and then coming around. You kind of get more of a dragged circle rather than a full tight rosette like this. Now, obviously I'm doing this on top of a mat, but if you were to do this on top of a cake and you're not applying the right pressure, you may be ruining what's underneath where you're piping. So you may like scratch away some buttercream. So again, with the pressure, let's move on to this 4B, which is like a French tip with more spikes. And this time I'm going to do a star. Now, a star is simply pushing and coming off like so. Push, stop pushing and off. And you can even do a swirl too, in the same way as the rosette. Now let's see what happens if I don't apply the right amount of pressure. So not only was that not applying the right amount of pressure, I also kind of squashed it down, and you just don't get that full effect. So if I'm too close, I don't get that nice bulbous effect, and I get more of a flat star rather than the fuller one. Now, a lot of you ask about this leaf tip. Now, the leaf tip is a bit confusing because if you look at it, there's an open V side, which you think needs to be exposed, but it's not the case. You actually need to twist it, so from above, you just see this point. And when it's like this, then you can pipe a perfect leaf. So squeeze, let the buttercream come out either side, come away a bit and off, and you get a perfect leaf shape. So now let's see what happens if I use it the wrong way round and have the larger part exposing. You're not going to get a leaf at all. You're going to get kind of like a long stick thing like this. So can you see that the buttercream just comes upwards? I guess you can kind of use it as a leaf, but it's not the effect that we want. So what I've got here is also a leaf tip, but with a slight V in the very center, and this is called a vine leaf. And with this, I also like to do ruffles. Now this is the correct way of using it. You actually want to use it flat against the surface, and again, let the buttercream come out of the opening like so. So either an individual leaf like this, or if you're doing a ruffle, squeeze and down, squeeze and down, squeeze and down. And it's really important to keep the pressure even there as well. So now let's see what happens when I use the tip the wrong way round. So firstly, the wrong way round, you get again this kind of strange line. Actually, this looks really nice. Ooh. So that was actually with the tip the wrong way round, which actually came out really nice, but it's not the leaf we are looking for. So with this specific vine leaf tip, people struggle with the following, keeping that leaf nice and short. So I'm gonna show you what happens if you keep dragging the leaf, it kind of splits up. So if you push and you keep dragging, you get like this kind of long leaf, and you want to keep it much shorter than that. So the idea is to stop sooner. So once again, if you're getting longer leaves like this, it means you're going too far. And with the ribbon, if you're changing the pressure, you're going to get big ones, small ones, bigger ones again, like this, which is not what you want. You want it nice and even like this one. Right, so now let's talk about this petal tip. So I'm using a 104, which has a very clear small part and a large part. And I'm always talking about knowing where the narrower part is, because if you think of a petal, it's thinner on the end. So depending on if you're piping on a flat surface, if you're piping flowers, you really need to know where that thin part is. So I'm gonna show you two types of ruffles that you should be doing with this petal tip. So the first one is the thin part facing upwards and the thick part is on the surface. So when you start pushing and ruffling side to side, you get this beautiful, delicate ruffle that's nice and thin on the top. And if you did the same thing but slanted, which you're most likely going to do with flowers, you get a nice petal like this. And the thick part is where the thicker part is of the tip, and you get this nice, thin, delicate edge. And then if I were to turn it the wrong way round, you can see the difference straight away. Can you see it's much thicker and you don't get that delicate edge like we did before? And also when you're piping individual petals, up and down. The definition's gone, it's too thick. So if you're getting this at home, all you need to do is flip the tip back round and have the narrow part facing up. Now, the next tip is the grass tip. Now, I actually find this tip one of the hardest to use because it depends on what effect you're looking for. Some people want shorter grass or some people want longer grass, but you really have to be confident again with the pressure. So I'm gonna show you two different types of lengths and then how not to use it. So firstly, with the short grass, you have to be quite close to your surface. Squeeze firmly before lifting up, stop squeezing and up. So you have to have that base before lifting up. And if I pipe it close together, you get that effect of grass. Now, if we do the same, but just a little bit longer, you get more of a fir effect. So you need that base to build on and then bring it up, stop pushing and lift up. And you can even go longer and get more movement with it, like this, all depending on what effect you're looking for. And if you don't have that base, it kind of falls on and collapses. And if you're not pressing the right amount at all, you're gonna kind of have this half collapsed looking thing. If you were to do a long one and change the pressure, you're not gonna get what you're looking for. So that's too much pressure, and this is not enough. So this one is the real pressure test. So last but not least is a plain round tip, which we tend to use for writing or smaller details. And I'm gonna show you just a squiggle of how to do it correctly. It's all about the distance and of course the pressure. So if you're using the plain round tip, you want to be close enough to the surface so it doesn't drop, but not too close so it doesn't smudge. And you want to feel the buttercream coming through the piping tip so you understand how it's going to move. Whether it's a writing, squiggle, maybe some smaller decorations like hearts or flowers, or even little circles. Now look what happens if I'm too far from the surface. Firstly, it drops and you're not controlling where it's going. So already, it's not what I'm after. Now if I'm too close, you're going to get a sort of squashed effect, which you don't want either. If you're pushing too much, again, it's going to lose a bit of control. And if you're not pushing enough, what can happen is it starts to break, which is really common, and I had it when I started learning. It's all about getting the pressure right to get a beautiful, even line like this. So there we go, that's how not to use certain piping tips. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. It's always good to do something wrong so you get to learn from it. So I hope I've shown you and corrected you in certain places. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and make sure you're notified every time there's a new video. Hope you enjoyed it and we'll see you very soon.